Hello crafters, Jessie Katz-Greenberg here, and today I'm going to teach you how to add French knots to your cross stitch. So we're going to add some French knots to Aida cloth. I already have part of my design cross stitched, and I've thread my needle using 3 strands of 6-strand embroidery floss. Without knotting the end of my floss, I'm just going to weave it under 4 or 5 stitches near where I'm going to be placing my French knot. I pull that thread through those stitches until I have just a teeny bit left out, and then I'll weave back through in the other direction. So I'll skip the first stitch, which is going to catch my thread, and then go under the remaining 3 or so stitches. And I'm trying to be careful here to not let my needle go to the front of the fabric because I don't want this interfering with my design. I have long nails, so sometimes I'll use that to kind of guide the sharp end of the needle. And then just gently pull the rest of my thread through. To begin your French knot, come up from the back of the fabric where you want to place your French knot. And then before I make the knot, I want to show you where your needle will be going back down. It can go down in the same exact hole, or it can go 1 thread over like I'm showing here, which can sometimes be a bit more secure because you don't risk pulling your knot right through your fabric. Place your embroidery hoop flat on your table so you can work with both hands. Using my left hand, so my non-working hand, I'm going to wrap my needle twice with the embroidery floss. And then I'll put my needle back through the fabric, and this is where it can go in the same hole or just 1 thread over. Using my left hand, I gently pull that knot so it's right up against the fabric, and I'll keep my thumb on that thread so it doesn't get loose and unravel as I'm pulling through. Pulling gently until the thread is right back up against my fabric, and I'm not pulling too hard here because I don't want to yank the knot through the fabric. So let's look at this whole process again from another angle. I've come up from the back of my fabric and I'll use my non-working hand, so I'm right-handed, so I'll be using my left hand to wrap the needle twice with thread. And then I'll place the needle back in the same hole or just 1 thread over. With my left hand, gently pull that knot so it's right up against the fabric, and then hold that thread in place while I pull the needle back through, holding it there until the thread is so short that it just completes the knot. And I'm not pulling too tight because I don't want to yank that knot right through the fabric. Let's look at this one more time. So I'm holding the needle a couple inches away from the fabric, wrapping the thread twice, going through the same hole or 1 thread over, gently pulling that knot. You don't want to pull too tight because you could make it very difficult to actually get your needle through the knot. And gently pull to finish your French knot. You could finish by weaving under stitches in the back like we did in the beginning, but sometimes you're doing French knots that are not close to other stitches, so I like to knot the back. So I'll tie a knot and use my hand to get that knot right up against my fabric. And then I hold it with my thumb in place and pull. This way I have a knot that's right up against my fabric. And I'll do this 1 or 2 more times to make sure the knot is large enough to hold secure. The key here really is to guide that knot right up against the fabric and hold it in place. Once you have your knot, you can cut off the extra floss, leave about 1/4 inch or so. And now you have your beautiful French knots, which add a bit of texture and detail to your cross-stitch work. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more cross-stitch and crafting tutorials. Thanks for watching!